Welcome back to Wellness to Greatness. My name is Janelle, and I'm the host of this show. Today, we're going to talk about something that can feel uncomfortable. It's about bad habits. Yeah, I'm sure we all have it. And then we're going to talk about how to replace that. Now, in the past, we talked about the habit loop. So I'm not going to go down the same rabbit hole of explaining it every step of the way. We're going to be more specific today. I'm talking about why does some things stick and why some things don't.
This podcast is raw, unscripted, and sometimes uncomfortable. But that's the point. We're here for open conversations and guided moments that help you realign with yourself through mind, body, and spirit, backed by science, so you can reconnect with what matters and build stronger relationships without perfection or pressure. Align, connect, empower.
So put yourself in a situation where you took a course or you are implementing new healthy lifestyle changes. And at the beginning, there's a lot. There's a lot of great content. There's a lot of great tips, and you want to apply it all. Now, it can be overwhelming at first. I'm sure you could agree with that. But you're excited, you want to make the change, and you want to do all the things. Now, what tends to happen is after a certain period of time, whether you achieved your goal or it's taking too long and you get restless, but usually we sort of go back to a place of familiarity. And this is common. Our body likes comfort and it tries to find a way to get out of it. But why is it that some of these tools or things that seem to have stick around? So we have made some healthy changes, and why others haven't. So this is what we're going to today. So imagine that you are maybe drinking more water, taking your vitamins. Maybe you're trying to do some more self-care, like washing your face before going to bed or adding exercise, all those things. Now, first of all, it has to be something that you enjoy doing. And those are things that are going to stick around. But two, it has to be something too that is easy to already implement to an existing routine. So if we're going back to a habit, the thing that you are feeling emotionally, physically, so that could be like a stress response or with anxiety, overwhelm, maybe fatigue, or maybe a trigger could be something a certain circumstances, maybe finances, like maybe that's a trigger for you. And every time that comes up where you have a financial challenge, boom, you feel this a certain sense of insecurity and no safety. And then what happens is that we go into a routine. So we, in our brain, in our body, we feel safe and reassured when we do this routine. And then in that routine afterwards, on the other side of it, we feel like this sense of relief or this boost of dopamine, this like loving, good sense of feeling. You can get that from a piece of chocolate. You can get that from alcohol. You can get that from a cigarette. You can get that from watching TV, scrolling, sex, you name it. Okay. Exercise. But our choices of what's in that routine is up to us. And this is where we typically tend to go wrong, is because we think that if we're doing something that's not healthy for us, that routine, we think if I just stop that altogether, take that out, that I'll have long-term change. But if you look, you still have that trigger and you're still seeking for this result, this outcome, but there's nothing to connect the two together. And for those who are listening to me on voice, on audio, instead of on YouTube, what I'm doing with my hands, I'm showing you one side is the trigger. The other side is the outcome, the result that you're seeking, which is feeling better, reassured, and safety. There's a gap in the middle because you took out the routine. So what needs to happen is you fill that routine, you add that thing to your plate that is life-giving. It may not have the same sort of spike of dopamine right at the beginning, but over time, you will see it will give you the result that you're seeking. Now, studies have shown that to build a new routine consistently takes up to 3 weeks. But what you'll notice is that what really sticks around is after 3 months. And that is attached to our behavior and our identity. That's why a lot of these jobs you'll see will have a 3-month probation with a new employee where they can basically cut them out at any point without paying for a package for letting them go and stuff like that after 3 months, because usually by the 3-month mark, you really start to see who they truly are. Are they a right fit? Are they standing up are they walking the talk? Are they getting the rhythm of things? Is their behavior matching to what I'm looking for in an employee or a paid contractor? So this is where we can start using this on ourselves. So when the 3 weeks come, you start to get a routine. Now, the other thing is this habit loop structure I shared with you. Okay, you have your trigger, your routine, and then you have your result, your outcome. When you replace the routine, then one thing in the center, make sure this loop is attached to an already existing habit. So if you're in a really good habit in the morning of, let's say, brushing your teeth, but you're in a horrible habit of taking your vitamins, maybe you combine it with another routine. So that way you're more likely to do it. Another thing for me too is I'm visual. I don't always have a checklist, but I'm visual. So if I see it, I will do it because I am in a pattern of being in certain rooms or spaces at certain times of day. It's just your behavior. We like routine, even though some people like myself say I don't. My body likes routine because it's familiar. And I feel so if I can look at already an existing pattern that I am doing where I'm in a room doing a certain thing, I attach it to it. And they show in research and studies that those who do that will have a higher success rate in 3 months to develop the behavior of those changes. So I've done this big gut health program. I had to take a pause in it because there was some health related stuff that I need to get further investigated. But I noticed since the moment I stopped to about 6 months later, I noticed something stuck around when other things didn't. So I asked myself, why was I consistent in doing those things? Weren't already attached to an existing routine that I've been doing for years and feel familiar and easy to continue with those. So if it's something that is not attached to already existing familiar routine, you're most likely going to drop it. And if you want a routine to become a habit, to become something that's part of who you are, then that's where you'll notice in a 3-month time that behavior will stick around. But also going back to bad habits. Okay, so we were talking about the changes of our healthy things, but why is it that bad habits keep coming back? Bad habits, when they are attached to any physiological, emotional response, like fear, like you don't feel safe, anxiety, overwhelm, whatever, if you attach it to those coping mechanisms, your body thinks, this is the relief that I need. So your body's getting a signal of whatever it is you're feeling emotionally that you feel that isn't good for you. And your body's trying to find a way to bring that overwhelm down, to feel safe again. So let's say your nails, that's a good distraction. Hey, your body's like, hey, this is working. I sent her a signal. She's doing something. She's distracted. I don't feel so stressed anymore. This works. So then you keep doing that. You keep doing that. And eventually over time, that becomes a habitual thing. Even if maybe you're not super overwhelmed or anxious in the first place, but now it's become a routine, a habit. So when you're trying to break a negative habit, it's about replacing it. So you feel maybe that emotion is anxiety, but for so long you were numbing yourself or distracting yourself that you don't even know what that signal is anymore. So when you catch yourself in the motion of reaching for something or doing something, ask yourself, oh, my body sent me a signal because I went after to go do this thing. What is that signal? And that's when we get curious and more attentive to what our body is trying to tell us. Because numbing it is not going to make the signal go away. It's going to make it louder. And when your signals of insecurity or whatever it is that's coming up gets louder and louder, what gets quietened down is our intuitive side trying to tell us, hey, this is what you need. That gets almost diminished to the point where we can hardly hear that part of ourselves. So if you are feeling disconnected, uncertain about yourself, insecure, wondering why you can't make the right decisions, it's not because you're broken. It's because we've been so adapted to this new fast paced, instant gratification, um, need for like dopamine hits, like when we're on social media, like on the radio, everything is fast paced, everything. And it's distracting us, it's noise. If we can't find stillness to pause and listen to what our body is trying to say, then we're not going to be able to quiet down that signal. It's going to get louder and louder, like a car alarm or the house alarm. You know, if our intruder's in it, at first it's like a warning, and then it gets whale, whale, whale. And it can show up in so many different ways. It can be in physical pain. Maybe you start losing hair. You have like other deficiencies, or your hormonals are imbalanced. It affects your gut health, dysbiosis. It can go on and on and on. And a lot of these things could be also related to trauma in our past. So if we don't listen to the intuitive whispers of what our body is trying to say to us, then we might be missing the signs of where we need to heal and mend. And if we don't deal with some of these traumas, work through them internally, not outwards, by just constantly exercising or constantly doing this and that, thinking that that is going to solve our problem, when really we have all we need is inside of here. It's inside of us. It's just going back to some of the old methodology that we think is like old school, which is like breath work, being present, listening to our tuning to our intuitive side. But to regain, we need to follow to achieve that, to get there. And I can help you do that. So I'm an emotional, body-based translator, which means that I can recognize physically by observing you, seeing your habits, your patterns, your routines, and what is coming up physically in your body, and translate it in a way that makes sense to you to help you get reconnected with yourself. You can hear that intuitive side. You then, my girl, become empowered. You can influence people in your life that matter. You find your voice where you at first didn't know how to communicate or wonder what was going on with you, and recognize that you were not the problem. We got so caught up in this tsunami of noise in our life and in our trying to backpedal and find our way out of it. And we're not going to find our way out of it on the outside. We're going to find the way out of it by tuning inwards. And I'm here for you to do that. And I am working on a book. I'm really excited. Don't have a launch date yet, just yet. I am so fascinated by people, and I love studying people, human behavior. It's because even though we are that show up and physically in their body, how they present themselves, and their behaviors and patterns outside of the massage room. And what's really cool is I could see those patterns in their body and what they're doing on a daily basis. So thank you so much for listening today. So the biggest takeaway from the conversation today is, one, why is it so hard to change a good habit? And why are some of them sticking around and why some of them don't? Why is it hard why can't we just kick a bad habit, and how to replace it and how to make it successful? And two, you're not broken. And if the signals get louder and louder, we just don't hear what it is that we need. We are disconnected because of it. So let's quiet down the signals together. Thank you guys. I love you. And if you want to share this with a friend and family, and don't forget to follow this episode. I am on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and YouTube. And you can also reach out to me on Instagram at Wellness to Greatness. Have a beautiful day, guys. I'll catch you next week.